there, Doctor Who and Review fans. This is Nisha M., your geek mom from Diversely Geek, joined by the wonderful Louise Lacow from Man Bites Media. And we have two unbelievable guests. I mean, I say that every week, but I pretty much mean it every week because it happens every week. Unbelievable, really relevant, very strong, and guests today who I think are really going to help us to be able to move along in our journey as we continue to discuss the culture and social influence of the Doctor, our personal fave characters, our personal philosophies on the Doctor, the good, the bad, the moral, and the ethical. Yeah, it's a tough subject, but you know, I think that as we are facing a world of fluctuating emotions and connectivity and human exchanges, we really have to address why is there toxicity out there, and why is there toxicity in this fandom? Because you know what? We all love the Doctor for something. We love Doctor Who, and we all come together as one fandom through our similarities and our commonalities. So it's really interesting. We need to just reflect on what it was that made us fans in the first place and why we continue to be committed to the message of Doctor Who. So I want to introduce our two guests today. We have the wonderful Kat Smith. Yay!
Hi! Yay!
And the lovely Yami Sintron.
Hello, hello.
Both of who are coming to us from different parts of the country. Woo!
Oh, wow.
Don't you love technology?
Technology.
Technology's like the best. So would you mind, Kat and then Yami, giving us just a short reprise on your background? So, and of course your love for the Who fandom.
Okay, sure. I'm an actor, a musician. I've been cosplaying since before they had a word for it. And I came late to the Doctor Who party. I felt like a really bad nerd in the 80s growing up because I just was not interested. And you know, I was busy watching Star Trek: The Next Generation and then Xena.
Why, of course. Sorry. Go ahead.
And, you know, and then 11 happened, you know, Stephen Moffat's first season before he got jaded with himself. And that combination of 11 and Moffat's A-game and River Song, and there I was. And so for me, it's the River Song show, and then there's that guy who's in it too sometimes.
Who doesn't love River Song?
A great many people, tragically, a lot of people she's got not fans, and it's sad to me.
No. Yeah, that's definitely sad.
I have my Sonic in my hand, and I will use it.
Right?
Tell me who. Here you go. Listen. Okay, sorry. I have to do it.
All I have to say is I strongly disagree with any of their comments.
Exactly.
So, Alex Kingston is one of the most brilliant people I've ever had the privilege of meeting in my existence.
She truly is amazing.
Absolutely. Oh, she's a queen. She's just absolutely wonderful.
So that's fabulous. And then Yami?
I actually I didn't know about Doctor Who until 9 came along. So but luckily I was able to get into 9, and yeah, he's still my Doctor. I love, you know, all the older ones for different reasons and different episodes. I have my favorites. 9 is definitely my favorite, but I'm also a multi-fandom, but I did get into it, thankfully, when they resurrected it. So I've been lucky to have seen, you know, 9, 10, 11, and 12, and now 13. So, yeah, I'm up to date, at least.
So, with you both being newer to the Whovian dynasty, and legacy.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I caught up. You know, I've watched the runs of a lot of the older Doctors by now, so I am caught up.
So,
but
I won't rephrase. I'll actually still go with that question I was going to go with. Okay? And there's a reason. So, because you did catch up, so that's beautiful. It's very, there are fans who've been watching for 39 years like myself, right? So we've watched it and we've moved along with the story and with the journey and the struggles of the Doctor and the struggles of BBC and the showrunners. But then there are fans who came into it with the new Who generation, loved it so much to go back and to find the symbiosis between the two. And I find that fans who do that actually have a lot of wherewithal. They have great feedback. And the two different types of fans don't always see things eye to eye, you know? So, you know what I'm saying? So coming in as a newer Whovian and then going back and seeing the legacy of Doctor Who, what do you think has connected you the most, one to the show, but then to the Doctor? If you feel connected to the Doctor. So I'll leave that either one of you or both of you.
You want to go first?
You want to go for that? You go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. See, I'll make something up real quick. One of the things that I love so much about Doctor Who is that this is a party that's been going on, as you say, for, a million years, for half a century, and with, different actors and this is why I think when you were talking before about toxicity, there's the show, the entire show regenerates. It's not just the Doctor, the entire show regenerates, every time the Doctor does. So, and everyone has a different vibe to it and a different focus. And although he's the same man, he's not the same man. And he's got, different needs and loves and whatever. And people get their favorites. People get, and whenever it's divided up like that, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of, are you kidding me? Matt Smith, he sucks. It's David Tennant or nothing. What? They both suck. It's Tom Baker or nothing, and it's dumb.
Yeah.
It's dumb. And I mean, me personally, I refuse to even engage. I go, oh, that's great. Well, that's the great thing about the show is that they're all different and they're all the same and we love them all. Next.
Yep. Moving on.
And honestly, and now that I've said that, now I kind of want to follow that up with, and when you ask about my moral thing or how the show has influenced me, I think, now that I say it out loud, that looking at it that way, it's a big picture view of a lot of things. I mean, Doctor Who is a show for the pragmatist, if you think about it that way. At the long game, and I think I've been that's affected me in my life and my own perspective about things like, oh, I've got mine and you've got yours, and as long as nobody's jerked about it, that's all great.
That's amazing. That was
it can all be wonderful.
Beautiful soliloquy. You just gave me everything. I am so happy right now. Okay. Okay. Y'all, you want to throw something in there, my friend? You want to throw something in here?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I did go back and watch some of the older. I watched a lot of Baker, and that's actually why I was excited for Capaldi. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Everybody has their favorites. Every Doctor is different. Everyone, I think, can relate to, at least one Doctor and then multiple parts of each Doctor. And that's why we keep coming back. Yeah. So for me, that's why I'm saying 9, I relate the most to 9. Maybe because it was my first, but I've gone back and I've seen all the others, and I've seen 10, and 10 was a little too hard for me. I think 11 was a little too soft for me. Yeah. So they all have their, they all have flaws. They all have great things about them, and it's just everybody can relate to something, which is great, and that's what keeps people coming back. But yeah, there's definitely some moral things we can bring into it. Is this right? Is this wrong? And because he travels space and time. So I mean, somewhere you got to ask, what are we doing? What's going on? Is this right? Should they be doing this? So yeah. For the good, the bad, the moral, the ethical. Yeah, there's a lot of questions to ask, and because there's so many episodes. I mean, we could go on forever, but to me, I think I don't even know how to phrase this.
Oh, just say it. It's cool.
like,
We'll get it.
okay, so like, you know how 10, he says no second chances, because that's the kind of man I am. And to me, that was so different from like 9 that I was used to. I was like, what? What do you mean? Like, that's so like wrong to me. Cause I mean, this probably gets me in trouble, but yeah, I give people like a lot of I give people way too many chances. And, I was just like stunned by that. And like having been through 9 and then going to 10, that was like a shock for me. But then, you know, I was like, okay, this person's different. And, you know, luckily I still had Rose. So I was like, that's what kept me kind of like going on to the next and the next and the next. I was like, oh, okay, well, you know, this person changes, but there's always something to hold on to.
So did you find, so like, okay, that's perfect. I want to ask you really quickly while you're on the thought then. Did you find that with with the regeneration of the Doctor, like what Kat said before, when the Doctor regenerates, the show regenerates. And in a sense, we do too. The Doctor is pragmatic. In the long run, the Doctor is about this moment, this experience, and how's it affecting now? But then at the same time, what are the far-reaching tendrils of that? So when you're talking about this change to 10 or to 11, how, as a fan, then do we continue to stay connected? You know what I'm saying? How do we still continue? I mean, you had Rose, but there's something, right? There's something about this Doctor that still allows you to continue. It can't just be
yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, like I said, that with more episodes, you catch more of the personality of that Doctor, and there's things that you can relate to. There's always something you can relate to, and that's what keeps you, you know, coming back. I mean, if you're still a fan of Doctor Who, there's obviously something that keeps you coming back. So, you know, with the newer Doctors. And what was it with 10 that kept me? I mean, 10 was like radical. 10 was like a little bit like all over the place, but
yeah, he was.
Insufferable at times. I love him dearly, but oh my God, you just want to punch him in the head some of the time.
Okay, so this is actually a very lovely group to be with, because I'm sorry, I love Doctor Who. I've been there from a long time, but 10 was not actually my fave in the long run, and because of what you're both saying to me. So that's so amazing. You mean you both are willing to all three of you are willing to go against the grain of this 10 being the favorite?
I love Tennant.
10 is everybody's, like, well, not everybody's favorite, obviously, but mostly everybody came in at 10. So I think that's what happened. They're like, that's like, you know, everybody's kind of favorite Doctor, because that's who everybody watched, and he was on for so long.
That's who they connected.
You know, yeah, and you know, plus he was in Harry Potter. Come on, so you know that brought a lot of people in too. So you know, people watched him for so long. They're like that's their Doctor, and like, you know, I have things about all of them that I like. 11 was adorable, but he was, like I said, he was like too soft, like, you know, versus like what Tennant was. Like Smith was like, he actually wanted to save people, which I thought was like you can't, like, this is time you're messing with, like, you can't do it. And even though like ultimately it doesn't work, like I'm thinking of the Van Gogh episode, but you know, it doesn't work how they want it to work. But you know, you're thinking, should you be doing this? Like, is this right? You're messing with time. And
okay, so for the panel,
but, you know,
including Lewis on this one, because don't mean to jump in, but you keep making me think of questions. So
okay, great. More input.
I'm going to go backwards then. So for all of you, and yes, because a lot of you have gone back and you do know the rest of the history of the Doctor, but again, I want to make sure we understand it's not just the Doctor we're reflecting on, right? We're reflecting on the franchise.
Yes.
We're reflecting on the entirety of Doctor Who as a culture and a social influencer. We you know, we've had discussions about the respect of the Doctor not just our respect for the Doctor, but the respect that the Doctor brings to humanity, the respect that the Doctor brings to communities and to societies, to keep them whole and valid, right? The Doctor gets extremely hard when a civilization is threatened. So, as a role model, do you feel that the Doctor has had great social reach and influence with the fandom in terms of equality, respect for creature, the planets, for cultures, for acceptance? Do you feel like that's been something that the fandom that has molded the fandom? So I know it's a big question, but
oh, definitely. I mean, the Doctor makes it cool, makes being a nerd cool. The Doctor makes being the smart guy cool. And that's amazing. That's just huge. You know, I don't have a blaster. I don't have a sword. I have a little doohickey, with a light on the end. I have a sonic screwdriver and my brain. And I think that's wonderful, and it's so important. And also, as the show grows and the fandom grows, I mean, I'm sure I am not alone in, that time that one of those times you wanted to punch 10 in the head was, when he takes Martha Jones to, meet Shakespeare, and his statement when she's concerned about being, picked on, about racism is, just walk around like you own the place. And
that statement.
His life is in her hands, so he had to go pick a place to hide with the chameleon. So he couldn't pick a place to hide where she didn't have to be the maid.
Yeah.
In Family of Blood, would you give me a break here? Anyway, it made me wonderfully, wonderfully happy. Fast forward to him with Bill, to 12 and Bill, and to see that he actually learned.
Yes.
Oh, and the LGBT community. I think Doctor Who did great with the LGBT community, especially like going back even towards 9. I mean, with Barrowman, being the character that he was, like that was not new for me. I mean, I'd seen things on TV, but nothing that was so widespread.
Obvious,
like that was so like I watched obviously things for adults even at that time that had like gay characters in it, but this was a show basically for kids, and it had LGBTQ characters in it, and I was like, wow, like this is great, so for me that was a big thing too.
So we had a very strong discussion recently on another panel I was on about the pansexuality of the Doctor, but not just of the Doctor, but of Jack Harkness as well, and how smoothly they introduced that from the get-go.
Oh, it was impeccable.
That was so easy. It was so easily done. Like, oh, that's it? Okay, great.
Actually,
like that was it. There was no like the drama or anything like about it. Like,
right?
By the way, that's add to the list of the myriad of reasons why it will be a crushing mistake if they don't get River in there to work with 13. It will be a crushing mistake because they have a beautiful opportunity to make the statement of love is love is love, and it's not dependent on body parts.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Stephen Moffat outed River as bi years ago.
Oh God, yeah.
So,
like literally her first season, we already knew that. So there was never a question about any gender expectations. Lewis, I know you were trying to jump in to say something, and then I want to go on to gender expectations. Go ahead.
I think the biggest thing for me, at least, was, and this is how I see Doctor Who overall. When you brought up that question about how we see the whole Doctor Who seasons and shows and doctors and everything, I think of the girl in the fireplace. The Doctor affects this woman's life from childhood to adulthood to death, and only in little tiny specks of time, little amounts of amazingness that happen. And imagine those are your favorite episodes throughout the seasons. These little tiny episodes that peek out and jump out of you and give you these moral lessons and everything. And I think that's kind of the best personification of what the Doctor is. It's not all good times, it's not all perfect, but you get these specks, these nuggets of just amazingness that happen every once in a while, like it happened to her.
And in between, that character that he leaves behind continues to pine and long for the Doctor, but at the same time, the struggle still continues. It's not. And I was looking back at Donna because, you know, between her first episode, Catherine Tate playing Donna, and Adipose, where she's searching for him because she realizes, I'm missing something in who I am. I'm missing a part of me, of my ability, my potential, my possibility. And Donna realizes that the Doctor can bring that to her, can help her to connect to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that for me is one of the biggest lessons that ever happens when it comes to Doctor Who, and has always been sitting there, that it gives us that opportunity to find who we are in our own personal truth. Anyone want to comment on that, or am I good?
That makes sense.
Makes sense. So I want to go back to gender equality, but I want to do it in a different way. I want to look at, because this is a great conversation. It's amazing. Okay. For as far back as we've gone, we can still start with 9 if you'd like to. There has, for me, and maybe I'm seeing this incorrectly, I don't feel like there's ever been a gender expectation fully written into the character, except for when Tennant, it's not his fault, right? He plays a character, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Ten seems to be very fallible to falling into that. So what do you think? You've seen other Doctors. What do you think from old Who to new Who? What have they gotten it right? When have they not gotten it right? I know I always have these pregnant pauses because I have these questions, and everybody has to think.
Thinking is good. You're making us think. That's true.
Well, you're talking just in a looking at the gender issue, sorry?
I'm looking at gender neutrality, gender expectation. I'm looking at role expectation. Like you said, Martha being relegated to the role of a maid. Why? What was that?
That sucked. It sucked so much. See, I think part of the reason, and I do not count myself among these people, but a thing that the Tennant era did, the beginning of it at least, was it made the show into a show about a couple.
Yep.
And
that's
I'm not a fan of that. I could handle Rose when she was with 9. I liked her with 9. I'm sorry, but like you mentioned, The Girl in the Fireplace. That's one of like 3 episodes of that season that I like, because I personally don't like it when you take the 2 leads of a show and you get them romantically involved with each other. It means the show stops being about what it's about and it starts being about that. It ruins Moonlighting. It ruined the X-Files. It ruined a lot of things. So I'm personally not with that. But there are a lot of people out there who loved that so much and were like frustrated and annoyed when every other time it wasn't a romance.
I agree with you. I think it's a hindsight thing though, because when it was airing, I did see it and I enjoyed it. I think I looked more past it rather than
focusing on it.
Yeah. And when you go back for rewatch, you really see it come out even more because you're not noticing all the other stuff that's going on in the background because you've seen it already. You start focusing it on the character building. And that's when I really, really captured it, is in the rewatch. And I'm like, yikes, I see that. And that's where Tennant actually took a second role for me when it came to favorite Doctor, which Tom Baker's my number one always. I love Tom Baker. That's.
Do you want to look at a Doctor who has absolutely who's complete? I guess social moire and gender neutral, and that really was Baker. Baker just everybody was everybody. And
Yep.
he was like, hey, you go do that. Hey, you go do that.
Mhm.
Hey, you go figure that out. And it was just the way it was with Baker. It's true. And in the long run, Capaldi ended up being that doctor as well.
Yep.
I think to me, Tom
I loved
Baker
him
was
and
the
Bill.
most alien. Oh, sorry.
What was it? Kat, go ahead.
Oh, and I love 12 with Bill. That was
Yeah.
wonderful. That to me, it brought back the vibe of like 7 and 8, like
Yes.
the professor and favorite student kind of vibe. So there wasn't there wasn't anything to ship. Thank you. Get that out of my show. Just I don't need it. And also by this time we know he's married, so you know. If we want the doctor to have to be romantically involved with somebody, River's perfect because she's not only his equal, she comes and goes. You know what I mean? She's not in the show all the time, which is great.
Yes.
That was the best introduction, honestly, for that. I love that.
That was beautifully said because honestly, we go back to the classic dialogue and synergy of the Doctor and companion. And I had been missing that for a very long time. I think I was okay with it with Amy and Rory because that was a romance that was already a romance. I thought
they had each other.
They had each other. It was ridiculous. The one moment before the wedding where she decides to kiss the Doctor, and I'm like, that was the most awkward thing I have seen in ever. So what was the point of doing it? Who were you?
That was a thank God I'm alive thing. That was a brush with death thing. That wasn't any sort of I'm particularly after you. That was a affirmate my life now, please.
Yes. I'm good with that. I like that perspective. I'll go with it. So I think then we're all very much on board with a doctor who just sees people without labels. Then,
I don't even go into it expecting them to do anything like that because it's standard. It's like, yes, that's how the Doctor is. There's no identity to the Doctor, especially after this last season. I think we finally got like, look, guys, this is what the Doctor is. If you haven't gotten it by now, come on, guys, wake up now. Because the Doctor doesn't have a gender, it's not a label that you could put as a male or female. It is them.
Or anything.
They are the Doctor. They could be anybody. They could take any gender and move with that character.
Well,
we saw that with Missy and the Doctor next.
So couldn't the Doctor take any form in general because the Doctor is an alien? Except that, of course, it has to follow the social constructs or physical constructs of the Gallifreyan culture. But, the Doctor's an alien.
Mm-hmm.
It's like...
Yeah, that's
what you're saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Kat. Yeah.
I mean, you're saying the Doctor wouldn't regenerate into, like, my cat, right? It has to be within the same parameters. Okay.
Yeah.
I could see that.
But hey, they haven't said anything about the Gallifreyan culture that doesn't specify that they can't turn into animals.
Not so far.
I mean, it always reminded me of the Trills from the Star Trek universe.
You are so right.
That were introduced. That were the little symbiont, the little squishy thing that looks like an eggplant, and then it would get put into a host body. I mean, and that thing that was introduced in an episode of Next Generation in like 1992, and they were able to make a wonderful statement about love is love and shouldn't be gender specific.
Yeah.
So I'm like, come on, Doctor Who, get with that. You have that opportunity now. Come on.
So this is exactly where I wanted to go with this conversation. This is so perfect. I think then my question to you, and it's I guess I'm going to phrase it to you, but really it's just I'm posing it. However, it's up to you to see how you choose to answer, because I had asked you to reflect on the value of the franchise and asking ourselves why toxicity exists then. I mean, because no matter what our likes or our dislikes are about the episodes, we share the love for the Doctor in common, right? That is why we're here. That's why all four of us are here. So what are you thinking that the toxicity exists for? And then, we can go back to the show.
I would love to chime in on this real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Actually, no, Yami, go ahead. Go.
Because we're just bombarded with it, like in our everyday lives. So like this is what like a women's role is. This is what a man's role is, and it's like there aren't enough shows like giving us like a lesson like this, that it's like that love is love, and that body parts don't matter. There aren't enough shows giving us that, and people aren't discussing this outside of us, I guess. So it's not maybe it's taboo, I don't know, but like outside we're just bombarded, and it's everywhere. We can't escape it, like maybe for a little bit we can escape it while we watch the show, and is it enough? I don't think it is. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's great. Honestly, I think the biggest reason that a lot of people have come out and started speaking this very negative rhetoric and going into really dark avenues of any show, period, is because these people in general were silenced for so long. And I think now that the internet has given them an avenue to speak, people are speaking and not really comprehending what they're saying and what they're putting out. I don't think they really understand the effect that it has on people.
Yes.
And once they start realizing it, I think people are going to start changing. And I think changing that narrative into saying, look, guys, you are affecting people, bringing people like that to light, like they did with Star Wars, like they did with certain situations that have already caused cyberbullying. I think bringing that to the limelight and making people understand that your words have consequences, making sure that they understand every statement that they say is going to affect a person mentally, physically, and emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to impact them way more than just typing in those words mindlessly and not realizing what they're saying.
Yeah. From the beginning of time, Doctor Who would never, from the creators to this moment, the Doctor Who franchise, the Doctor Who legacy, would never agree with or extol or just simply stand by to see this type of toxicity exist and to see these isms exist, because that's what the franchise has been about in the long run. It's about change, personal change, emotional change, social change. So I'm agreeing with you, definitely. It's sad.
It is.
But that's what I'm hoping things like this show will do, is to help to be able to set some level of precedent, to put things in their place. Look at what you can do for the better, and don't do something for the worse. Do no harm, as we say in medicine.
Yep.
Amen.
Did you both want to weigh in on that? Oh, Kat.
Yeah. I just go first. I've been lucky, I guess, to have not personally experienced. I don't know. I come at it as a cosplayer in a lot of ways, because that's one of the big ways that I express my fandom is through sartorially, through costumes. And this is why Doctor Who fandom is perfect for me, because I got the same hair as River, and it's just that's a whole nother story, which Nisha I know has heard, how River Song was part of my finding my groove back, or my getting my groove back. But there's
like
so
Stella?
much of that crap. Yes, exactly. There's so much of that crap that exists in cosplay, especially with people who cosplay the same characters. I mean, I'm sorry, but like, if I see another River Song at a con, she's my sister. She's not my rival. I run over and want to give her a hug.
Absolutely.
Hi, you look amazing. Let's bond over our costumes and how awesome this woman is. But unfortunately, there are people out there that it's competitive, you look, I think I look better than you. Some people like to use River as an excuse to act either slutty or bitchy, and don't get me started on that because she is neither. And there's a yucky side to anything. I almost ran away from cosplay within my first 10 minutes because somebody was nasty to me at my first cosplay event. Not Doctor Who. This is a different one years ago. But there was a girl who was snotty to me over my costume, and because we were wearing the same costume, and I was so shocked that I almost turned around and went home.
Damn.
But didn't.
It's sad.
No, but you have
tougher than that. But
you have to find your sense of ballast, and it's a very hard thing to do, especially if you're a kid who loves a fandom and you're not sure how to identify or how to resolve those kind of conflicts that you're being presented with. And so, for those kids or for anybody, because we're all kids in the long run, right? We need to have a very strong front that says that you're accepted, that you're loved, that we are here for you. So for someone who does something wrong out there, to let people know that there are people like, we're here for you.
Yeah.
There's someone there for you when someone is hurting you or harming you or trying to make you feel less than. Definitely reach out, because there's so much of us out here who are going to champion you.
Yep.
And it's us trying to, come together. And this is what I hope that our show is going to do as we get out there, is to be able to let people know that there are champions out here who will support whoever is trying to find their identity and needs that helping hand. So thank you guys so much. I'm so glad we had that conversation. And I know we need to keep, having this discussion. And perhaps one day we might actually have it as a YouTube, so that we can do it as a live video, because I think that would be a really, really wonderful way to reach out, in real time to be able to give this message and spread it,
Agreed.
So, I definitely want to go back to our fave characters as we move on, and why you identify with those favorite characters in the Doctor Who fandom. And I want to make sure and remember to look at episodes, I think, that say we've already touched on them, that change the narrative in terms of how we see acceptance, in terms of how we see ourselves, or even the Doctor as a character. I know we all, off air, we were discussing Pompeii. So who wants to take a lead on that one? Everybody. Okay. Oh, goodness. Okay. See, I do, and I keep doing this to people. Making you think.
Do you want me to say what I was saying before about
completely
about why that episode is amazing?
Yes.
That episode. Oh, okay. That episode is huge. I mean, it's right at the beginning of the season, and so we've got Doctor and groundbreaking new companion. My God, we already knew Donna a little bit, but Donna in season 4 is way different than Runaway Bride Donna. She's not 22. She doesn't look like a model. She's not skinny, and she's over 30, and it's amazing. We haven't seen anything like this, and even more importantly, she has no interest in dating him at all, and
not even a bit.
So there's all of that, and then they get to this huge thing, to Pompeii, which is this humongous disaster that has to happen, and then he has to deal with the fact that not only does he have to sit there and let this happen because it's a fixed point and that's his thing, but it turns out that it's his fault that it happened. And when she comes over and puts her hands on the thing also to make, the statement of, I'm not going to let you do this alone. You have to do this. I understand that sucks. And you know what? It can be my fault too. I will bear this with you. Jeez. And that's just boom. That was their friendship right there.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine having that what is the word I want to say for this? Having that type of fortitude, that
Well, that's
2 episodes into a season that Donna has that level of fortitude that she knows that she can reach out to the doctor and she can balance him. It's incredible. Sorry, you just like got me all emotional.
That's our girl. That's our girl. I love her. I love and adore Donna.
She really is amazing.
But
I was really hoping that Clara would be 11's Donna. You know?
Yeah.
Like Clara would have made a good Donna.
Poor Clara, man, what they did with that character.
Again, not her fault.
I know. I know.
Poor Jenna.
Poor us having to watch it.
She acted the life out of this character, but this character got beat over the head constantly.
Yeah. Literally and metaphorically.
Yeah, literally and metaphorically. So for you, I know that you absolutely adore River Song, but so you're like me. You're a huge fan of Donna, then, Kat.
Oh yeah. As far as the new Who companions go, I'm gonna, I'll go 7 rounds with anyone on Donna is the queen. My personal favorite that I have a soft spot for because I like to root for the underdog is Martha.
Yes.
Nice. Yes. We had a discussion about that in the last few episodes because I absolutely love Martha. She is one of my favorite companions because she's
one of the strongest ones.
Grief.
If one of the strongest companions.
She's her own
person. If you go to my band camp, I've written a song about her. Like, I've literally written a song about Martha Jones because she doesn't get enough love. I'm sorry, go on.
Never. But personal connection definitely falls for Wilfred. I love Wilfred. And as soon as you brought up Martha, I'm like, Wilfred. That's the first thing I think of. And I'm like, aw. Like, he's just this underdog, this guy that Donna wouldn't be the person that she is if it wasn't for Wilfred's upbringing and the way that he is with her and he is with the doctor. He has this kind of soft soul where he just exudes what the doctor has always been about. And the doctor finds this person, even in the special, that kind of emulates him. And he's like, this is an odd fellow, and it just it's this weird interaction, even in the Christmas special. And you kind of love how that happens. And it's perfect what he does. And it's what Doctor Who's about. It was a throwback to Barrowman. It was a throwback to just kind of this equality. Everybody is everybody, and we are all together. And sorry, I'm thinking the Beatles now.
Cuckoo.
Yeah, right? I was going to say, good. You got it.
Sorry.
And the fact that you can be a companion regardless of age, gender. Hello.
Yeah.
I mean,
and screen time, because he only got 3 episodes and just minor roles in that, but they were the most impactful. Very few minutes.
Actually, so he's in 5.
5 episodes, okay.
But he has 3 where he's very strongly featured. So, again, you're right. Very impactful. Huge
impact.
That's the magic of the show right there.
Exactly.
You got it. That is the magic of the show.
How about you, Yami?
I think if I were a companion, I would definitely be like Adana. I'd be like, "What's this? What's going on? Who are you?" But gosh, I'm just partial to 9. I just love him to death. I really do. I love my Eccleston. It's just like that was my introduction to it, and like just like his adventures were to me like the best. But I got my little bits from everybody. Of course now they're all scrambled in my head and I can't think of them. But yeah, I'm like, what was that one and the other one? Yeah. So yeah, I definitely have to like go back and refresh. But yeah, like I definitely agree with the Donna and the Martha.
You got me.
Yeah.
Sarah Jane reminds me of Diane Keaton back in the 70s, and I just completely adore Diane Keaton and worship her because of who she is. And then when I saw Sarah Jane in the reboot, and then I went back and watched the Tom Baker years, I was like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
I fell in love with another person for who they are and just how amazing that character is. And I was like, oh, this is a Doctor Who version of Diane Keaton.
Sarah Jane was 100% irreverent. She had absolutely no qualms in saying, yes, so you're the Doctor. I get it. I understand. But guess what? I am just as you know what, and I can figure this out. I don't know. I had written an article a long time ago where I expressed how important Sarah Jane was in me finding a sense of my own self, because she gave me that credence. She gave me that okay to be that person and to just, love what I knew and what I could know, but still not be perfect, still not be this scientist, still not be this hugely educated, aficionado of anything, just purely brilliant because. And that she's unabashedly, unapologetically amazing.
Always.
God, I love Sarah Jane, and I will always love Sarah Jane. I will love Sarah Jane. I loved Baker more because of Sarah Jane. Does that make what I'm saying?
I have to put in some props for the Sarah Jane Adventures while we're there.
I wish it had gone better.
I know. I wish it could have gone longer. I love that show. It's kind of a vibe that I'm getting with 13 and her team. I'm kind of getting like a Sarah Jane Adventures vibe, and I'm totally good with that.
I love that you're getting that juxtaposition and you're drawing that connection, because this is one of the big reasons that I am a huge fan of this new dynamic and this new companion dynamic, because I feel that with this new companion dynamic, they just exist because they exist, because they're perfect as who they are. And it's not because because the showrunner is trying to push a point or an agenda. It's just because, it's like with Moffat, it drove me nuts because I love Clara to death, but we could never see the full potential of Clara because he didn't allow it to happen. But I do hope that that's what we're going to get to happen. I'm hoping, cross fingers, that we're going to see these guys reach, all of them reach their potential. I was so sad that we weren't able to get Sarah Jane anymore. That was very heartbreaking.
I honestly, my roommate and I, we didn't watch the final season. We had watched we just couldn't bring ourselves to do it after she died. We hadn't gotten there yet. And we're like, no, if we don't watch it, somehow she's still here.
Somehow she's still here. You got it. Oh, she was a character that I would always hope that someday I'd see in the convention scene, but obviously that's not going to happen. But I think going back through time, of course, we're talking about Old Who. That's a character I loved very much. I actually kind of liked the Doctor, from the very first season. I liked the Doctor's granddaughter, Susan, quite a bit, actually. Very angsty. And I really, she was angsty. She was like, I got some Spitfire going on here. So I actually love that character. I've hoped now for how long that somehow or the other we'd get this character back. And I'm waiting constantly for it to happen. Right?
Yeah, they played hints about it at the beginning of the season. And I was like, are they going to do it? Are they going to do it? And I was like, oh.
Dang it. Just like we didn't get Jenny back,
I know. What amazing. Was that about?
I think they wanted to. And then she just started having a million of his babies and, doing other things, and it just didn't happen. But as far as I knew, they that was a plan, that they wanted her to do more stuff.
Right.
I really hope so.
They could definitely recast. That's certainly something they could do. Oh, I love this. So those were the characters. There were a lot more. Like I had a very strong fondness for Ace as well, because I think you can see my trend of thought here, right? You see my trend. I love these characters that are irreverently brilliant because they just are. They're just who they are. And that the Doctor taps into that beautifulness and that imperfect perfectness of that character and says, you know what, you're good, man. I like who you are, and I'm going to support you, and I'm going to let you grow. Although sometimes, McCoy did not.
No, he did not.
Was not great.
Do not blow things up, please. Please do not blow that up.
Yeah,
Let us talk to them. No.
I'm gonna hold on to that conversation. I'll let it sit right there. But
I think that's where the Doctor learned to not keep his hand on the button anymore.
Yes. I was like, why do you keep blowing things up? Okay. So
that's why the War Doctor's hesitation about pressing the button.
Yeah, right?
That was a beautiful, beautiful segue into the last question as we wrap up. So I love that we've come up with these characters. And of course, everyone is very aware how much the strong, strong passion I have for Donna, Catherine Tate as a person. And then, for me, Martha, who was one of the most unsung heroes, I think, the New Who era.
100%.
I absolutely adored Mickey. I hated what they did to Mickey's character because he fell into this expectation of gender and class and social role, and it made me livid because that's not what we do. It's not what Doctor Who does, but RTD made this decision to just dump all of these class expectations on this poor character, and I hated it. I
agree.
And it was a very huge disappointment for me. So I'm wondering, did we have disappointing moments where we felt like that they did a real disservice in terms of setting the right example, morality, ethical principle, acceptance? It's okay for us to say it wasn't always right. They didn't always get it right. So
I think Tennant, there's a lot of parts with Tennant being a uber masculine character and very machista in a lot of senses. I think he came off as that the second time I watched it. Either that or I was made a lot more aware the second time I watched it. But yeah, I honestly think his machismo came off very, very ingenuine to what Doctor Who stands for and the way that it is. There's certain scenes with the queens and relationships and how he quickly throws away women and all that stuff that's kind of degrading, and just it falls into the trope, and it's like, all right, come on. We all know that the Doctor is way above that. Let's move past this.
That's the problem, though, that there are two different 10s if you think about it. Because you're right about that. You're talking about Moffat 10. Stephen Moffat clearly envisions the 10th Doctor to be way, way, way different than Russell T Davies did.
Yes.
Moffat wanted 10 to be swashbuckly, to be kind of a rogue, to be Casanova-y, and be that guy and be roguish. Whereas Russell T wanted him to be, Mrs. Rose. He wanted him to be Rose's boy. He wanted 10 to be Rose's boyfriend and look through love, and I'm gonna pine for her for the rest of my freaking run, and poor Martha gets shoved into the role of rebound girl.
Right.
Okay, I'm done, sorry. So that's the problem with 10. So I answered your question.
It's crazy. Wow, I did not expect. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I've talked about this before.
No, you're good. I'm okay with that because it needs to be. Okay. And again, let me just be very clear. It has nothing to do with the actor because the actor's a brilliant person.
Absolutely.
No. I love David Tennant.
David Tennant's a lovely man.
Oh my God.
Oh, he's great.
This role that he's given, it's just as you move along. Okay, Yami, you talk, and then I'll go from there.
You know what? I kind of don't want to say because then I'll be bringing up the same character, so why don't we move along?
Okay. Goodness. Just so you understand, I did not know any of you actually had this in common. It's the strangest thing in the world that all four of us.
It's just weird because like the same like, the same doctor popped into my head when you mentioned it, and I just like, let's just move on. Okay, Lewis, what do you got?
I said mine.
You already did. Yeah, you already. Okay. Yeah. Let's move on.
Let me go to the closing tie up here then. And what I have always and I love this, and it's not that we're ragging on the 10th Doctor, because actually there are some absolutely just genius episodes with the 10th Doctor as he learns. Because what I watch happen is I do watch the Doctor learn, and the 10th Doctor learning is a very huge and relevant part of the transition and the movement, I guess, and the journey of the Doctor towards becoming the 12th Doctor. For me, who I believe is the one of the most everything Doctors ever. So, and I mean, that's my personal opinion.
And I think that's why.
Can I say my favorite moment?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no! Can I say my favorite moment of the Doctor learning? I have noticed when in school reunion, Sarah Jane reads him the Riot Act about I needed to say goodbye to you. You just disappeared. I don't care that it was for my own good. I needed to say goodbye to you. You need to say goodbye to me. That wasn't cool. And then fast forward to season 6 and the Doctor's wife. And of course it would be Neil Gaiman who would catch this, because he's like a bigger Doctor Who nerd than all of us put together, bless him. And when at the very end, right, when she says to him, when Idris is dying, and she says to him, there's something I've always wanted to say to you, and he assumes that it's going to be goodbye. He's like, oh, I've got it this time. It's goodbye. And it turns out that no, it's hello, because Neil likes to, rip out our hearts and eat them for breakfast.
Right. Serious.
Yeah. But that's just you remembered, because Sarah Jane took you to school on that. Thank you. Also, the Doctor's wife is just a perfect jewel of an episode.
Right. It is beautifully written. And I think we rag on Tennant because we love him so much, but we expect so much more of him. So it's kind of that uncle that you really hate but love going to his house because he lets you do what you want. So you love 10, but at the same time you hate him because it's like, why do you have to have those flaws? Come on,
And so
this
is the closing point for us. The closing point is that and you guys can definitely speak to this. Lewis knows, and actually everyone knows me, so everyone knows that I feel like the Doctor has been one steady journey. From the very first Doctor all the way back to our 13th Doctor. We're talking about a Doctor who's going through such emotional pain and struggle. But when we get our first Doctor, he's childish. He's childish. He hasn't figured out how to get his way, but he's unhappy with the situation and the culture that he's in, and he's looking to make a change, but at the same time doesn't know how to do that through a reputable means or in an adult fashion. And I say adult with quotes on quotes here. So we have this Doctor steal the TARDIS, and then the journey begins. And he takes his granddaughter with him, and then there it goes. It's an irresponsible action. It's an irresponsible thing to do. And then as you move along from Doctor to Doctor, this is a Doctor growing up. And as the Doctor grows up, I feel like the Doctor, as you notice, ages backwards until we get all the way to 11, who is literally in the body of a child, but is challenged to the point that he bears the responsibility of all of time and space, and the knowledge that the universe and all of the outliers of the universe is in his hands, and he made the choice between destruction, creation, and whatever's in between. And for me, I feel that of course, 9, 10, the War Doctor, everyone plays their part in getting us to the point that we have the 12th Doctor, and now we have the 13th Doctor. So I feel like it's a journey. It's it's a rocky transition. It's what we do as humans. We grow, we make mistakes, we have joys, we have struggles, we have successes, we make mistakes again, and as much as we want to be perfect, we're not going to be.
Yeah.
So I want to see what your final take is on that, because in saying that, I can forgive 10, because 10 is another part of the journey of the Doctor having to overcome something, having to learn something, and then move through that to become the next part of himself. Does that make sense? The next part of who the Doctor is, to have gone through those struggles and now to be a better Doctor and a better Gallifreyan and a better being in general. So I know that's big, and it was a big conversation, a soliloquy myself there, but what do you think about that? This journey of the Doctor as a final point, and where we see the 13th Doctor now in terms of that, and what do you hope for?
I'm waiting to see 13 get mean. I want to see the oncoming storm.
Yeah,
because she's. Yep. I mean, honestly, that's something that I loved about 10. He could be a scary dude. You know, he could be vindictive and he could be a scary dude, and I enjoy that. And it's always there, even bubbling under the surface of 11. And I want to see that for 13, and I want to see them do it in such a way where we forget that it's a female body.
Yeah.
Because it's a different way. The writing will be different. It will have to be different. It will have to be expressed differently.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that would be great, actually. Now that I think about it, I'm like, oh, that could go really well or really bad.
Either really well or really badly. You know, a thing that I always wished was that there would have been at least a discussion about what pronouns the Doctor was going to use. Mm. You know, because like if he's always used he, him, why should that change just because the meat suit has?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then again, he might want to change it. He might want to change it to go with the parts. That's cool. He might want to change it to they, them. I don't think that the BBC is that woke. So I wasn't really hoping, but at least there being a conversation about it, that would have made me happy.
Well, we still have time. There's another season, so that's up to them to make that decision. I feel like Jodie's body is a body that's still in flux and change, and so is the mind, because that's the Doctor, right? The Doctor goes through this huge metamorphosis and has to figure out who the Doctor is. So
who he is every time, yeah.
Every single time we have to go through this huge metamorphosis and the crisis that comes with it. So, okay, Yami and Lewis.
Go ahead, Yami.
Well, I think like with every regeneration, we so because we get a newer Doctor, they might go through similar things, and their reactions might be different. So it's like they learn, but they don't learn. Like I don't know if you know what I mean, but they're going through the maybe similar situations, and then the outcomes are different. So like they learn. I can't like put it into like they learn how to solve problems differently, and I think that's also like a good thing for us to see is, and not everything's like black and white. Not everything has a strict answer, or like a certain way that's right and wrong. Like there can be compromise, I guess, and I'm having a little problem putting it into words, but I think you're catching what I'm saying.
Well, because
there's situations are different, and especially like going into different generations, and as we grow as people, and the cultures and everything changes. but I think the root of things kind of stay the same, but the way you can approach them is different. The way you, the way you react to them is different. And this show gets to do that because it's been on for so long. It gets to bring back similar situations, but the reactions are updated. So yeah. Okay, good. You got me.
I got it. That was absolutely perfect. That's actually one of the hugest points that I was hoping that we would get out from this question. I know my questions have to go beat around the bush sometimes. So hopefully
this show is very lucky that it gets to do that because, like I said, they've been on so long and they can keep going. And even if, yes, the situations are similar, the characters are different, people have changed, our perceptions have changed, things have changed. So it's all new in a way.
And the doctor's older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, yes, maybe like at one point they would have done this, but now they're doing it this way because, now this is what's appropriate,
Yeah.
In the situation because things change,
That's a perfect example that for us to live our existence and to be aware of that we can't judge our own actions and actionability based on what someone else's actions and reactions would be. We have to look at who we are and the life that we're living in this moment and what is the situation that we exist in, and then make our choices based on doing what's the best for ourselves and best for our community and our societies. So I think that is what the journey of the doctor gives us an opportunity to see. Like Kat said, quite pragmatically, the doctor has to exist in this moment, in this situation, and how will the doctor react to that? Well, then how would we react to it if we
That's
were
exactly my point, I think.
Yes.
I think
So
that's my biggest aspect because each doctor represents a different way that somebody handles different situations. So I think that that's what the brilliance of Doctor Who is that no matter what type of character you identify with, what type of character you are yourself, you're able to find a doctor that you associate with, that you identify with, because they're able to handle all these different situations completely different ways. So it teaches a lot to yourself, and you're able to self-reflect a lot on this one doctor that you're fascinated with the most, because that's where you could see introspectively about yourself and see how you could react to the same situations that come up in your life. And I think that's what's really amazing. It's a clear reflection of a mirror image of yourself. And that's what we see when we see Doctor Who. We see somebody that could handle these situations that we wish we could handle, and it gives us the motivation to be able to handle those situations.
Or perhaps not handle it, and we get an opportunity to figure out how we would have done it differently.
Yep, exactly.
Because, the doctor's a flawed character.
Yep.
So that was beautiful. Oh my God, that was so good. This was an absolutely stupendous episode. I think we could just keep talking because there's so much relevant conversation for us as humans to be able to reflect on our own lives, and why the show has been so important for so long and why it's still here. So I want to thank everyone so much for being here, and you're absolutely welcome to be back on the show. And definitely in the future. This was fabulous. So Louis, you want to close us out about our where everyone can find us?
Yes. You could check out Diversely Geek at diverselygeek.org, and every social media outlet pretty much that's in existence, you can find them at Diversely Geek. And of course the podcasts that they do, please check them out on all the podcast sites that are available. iTunes, you're on Google Play, and which is the other one, Nisha?
Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Alexa, a couple other places.
Yeah. So if you listen to podcasts, look up Diversely Geek on the podcast app that you use, and you'll most likely find them. And for Man Bites Media, you're able to check out all our content on manbitesfilm.com. If you have Android, iPhone, just go to manbitesfilm.com and you'll find a app that you could download. And we're available on 36 different apps right now. And we put out 3 different episodes a week.
Ooh. And,
Go you.
Yeah, we're a bit busy on this side of the world.
That's impressive.
So, Kat, you want to tell us a little bit about where we can find you?
Oh, yeah. If you look up Miss Nerd Styles, that's NERDSTILES. Google that, and it'll be me, because I inherited that title from absolutely no one because I made it up. I have a Bandcamp that has my music. That's also under Miss Nerd Styles. And for the super awesome and generous who also want extra little tidbits that nobody else gets, I have a Patreon. You go to Patreon. You can, toss a cyber dollar in my cyber tip jar or something. And there's fun music there and videos and ukulele stuff. And there's also a website, which I really need to get around to updating, and a Facebook. I think that's
Amazing.
it. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. Yami, did you want to share anything?
They can usually find me wherever they find you, so
That's pretty true. It's very true. Yami is
somewhere in the background. Yeah, I'll
That's
be
true.
there.
So Yami Cintron is one of our OG members of the Diversely Geek team. She's been with us for 7 years, 8 years. Good God, I can't even count it.
Wow, really?
Yeah, we actually met on the grounds of the very first, before it was called the Celebration of Harry Potter, that one.
Yeah.
And we've been together for that long. We've gone through the good times and the rough times.
Yeah.
She knows the Diversely Geek philosophy very well. So a very valued member of our team. I'm so excited we were finally able to have you on one of the shows.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it was amazing. Did you guys have a good experience?
Oh yeah,
it's been great.
You gave me so much to think about. Like, I have to go back and watch so many episodes now.
That's what we always do.
Everybody runs
episode.
to go.
Yeah.
Everyone runs to go back and watch 10.
So we aim to create a show and to offer something so different from what the regular language is out there in the Whovian community. So we definitely value that you were willing to be part of the change and changing the narrative. So thank you guys so much, and we will see all of you next week for our next episode of Doctor Who in Review as we continue on to our third part of our series, Doctor Who, Exploring the Social and Cultural Influence. Thank you, and have a great week, everyone.